Welcome back to the channel. I'm Foreman, and today we're going to be talking about how much you need to retire in 2023. And I'm going to show you how much of a pension is large enough to comfortably retire, and I'm going to show you an easy formula on how you can calculate how much savings you'll need so that you can retire in 2023. So if you like this video, don't forget to drop one of these, as it is much appreciated and it helps new viewers know what's a good video on my channel. Now, so the first source on the list here is by NimbleFins, and this discusses the average retirement savings in the United Kingdom. It says here that those aged over 65 and over have an average total wealth of £730,900. £113,600 of this is savings. This is your financial wealth, like current and savings accounts, ISAs, stocks, bonds, trusts, etc. And 276,000 of this is private pensions. However, when you actually break this down, because the average is weighted and biased towards those with lots of wealth, this means that really a true representation of how much wealth each person over the age of 65 has is going to be better shown by the median. When we look at the median as presented on the screen, you can see here that actually private pension wealth is significantly lower, down from 276,000 to 110,000. Furthermore, you will notice a similar amount of physical wealth, being 45,000 compared to 57,000, and that property seems to take the lowest hit, which goes to suggest here that typically those that reach the age of retirement have a majority of their net worth in property. The issue with this is that it's not liquid capital, and therefore can be a concern if you're obviously looking for an income to live off of in retirement. Notably as well, you'll see that financial wealth is greatly slashed. The average is much higher than the median, and this goes to suggest that really if you want to have a higher level of wealth in retirement, you want to look at increasing your financial wealth by investing in stocks and shares. Fortunately, if you're watching this video and you're not at the age of retirement yet, even better if you're below the age of 40, you're in luck and you have a good chance to improve your retirement size or the pot for your retirement in time. So we've also got to discuss here different types of retirement, right? People here are going to have different needs of what they want to do in retirement. Now, Dave, living in England, might decide that he wants to just live in his house, keep things quiet, carry on, just do some housework and not worry about much else. Maybe have a pint down the local pub, right? A retirement like that maybe won't cost as much. Whereas, let's say Gen, what kind of a name is Gen? Right, Gen, right, he's down Southeast Asia, right? He's down there, he's living it large. He's got a massive penthouse in Bangkok, right? And he's spending large. He's going out every single night, clubbing, buying everything under the sun, right? He's going to retire a greater figure, although in Southeast Asia your money will go further from the UK. The point stands, right? He's living a larger life. He's going to need to afford that. So firstly, you need to picture how much you really need to afford that lifestyle so you can work towards it. At the very minimum, if you're looking for a way to motivate yourself towards this end, look at where you don't want to be. Think about at the age of retirement, where do you not want to be? What do you not want to be doing? And then work to avoid that. That's a good track, at least, to avoid getting, or at least motivating yourself to push on and do better. Now, some people are happy to go on 4 holidays a year, some people aren't, so it's that to keep in mind. So what I'm going to do here is look at the average UK household budget, which we can see here in 2022, the average UK household budget is around about £2,907 a month, which is about 35k a year. Notably, this is based on an average of 2.4 people per household. Now, it says that Brits spend the most on transportation, housing and food. In fact, 15% of household budgets go towards transportation, up to 32% towards rent or mortgage interest payments, and 11% to feed ourselves. So when we see at the breakdown here, you can see very much this trend. Transport is something that is great. You need to identify here, are you going to be driving? Are you going to be using public transport? Maybe you've got that free bus card and you're living at large and you're able to get away with that, or perhaps you're using other forms of transportation. You can't really cut down on food and non-alcoholic drinks, but you can see here how much of a big representation it has on the monthly spend here with £320 there, and obviously you could eat out and stay in hotels. Again, that's something to keep in mind. So it is very tricky, and so what I'm going to be doing here is looking at the average spend of 2.4 people per household, and since I'm a single guy and perhaps in retirement, let's just assume I'm single for this, I'm going to look at about 1.5 people per household, which would be equivalent to roughly about £1,820 a month. So realistically, it's not far off of my current budget, which might add a little bit more of a fairer representation on how I would need to spend in order to survive and how much I would need of a pot of retirement to live the current lifestyle that I have. Now, there's an easy calculation to see if you've got enough for retirement. And a critical issue that I see with retirees as well before we get to this calculation is that due to that idea here that they keep a majority of their wealth in property, this means that if they want to access this £200,000 they've got in median property wealth, they've got to probably use an equity release. And equity releases are not good because they are very high interest rates, and there are terms that you probably don't want to agree to if you want to be handing over any form of wealth to your descendants. So this is obviously a concern. So you're looking to avoid that, build up savings where possible, investing in stocks and shares, investing for the long term, looking at a globally diversified index fund with low fees, and that way hopefully you can build up over time. And with obviously a compound interest calculator, you can identify at the average annual return of the largest 500 companies in the United States is about 8% per year over a 30-year period. So if you invest now and keep buying dollar cost average into the markets by buying shares of these index funds each and every month, as soon as you get paid, before you even see your bills, you could therefore build up a substantial pot. Now, I'd like to be prepared in retirement, and I would like to see my money last. So here we're going to be using a rule called the 4% rule. This means that I'm able to see my investment pot grow at a slightly faster rate than the rate that I'm drawing expenses from it. So whilst the growth of it isn't going to be as high anymore, it's going to be more of a tapered line like this. So my overall wealth invested is going to likely be slightly increasing, and as I'm obviously able to spend, and basically I have a perpetual source of income. Now, the 4% rule was made in mind that the idea here is that your investment pot is going to outlive you, and this is over a 30-year period. Some people are more risk averse and they would prefer to use a 3.3% rule or a 3% rule, in which case you'll probably be able to sustain yourself indefinitely with those kind of rules because it is a very safe level assuming average market returns. So of course that is possible, and you can obviously factor this into your calculation, and you'll only have to change one simple thing. So I've worked out here that my annual expense of about £21,800, which is from that 1.5 people per household, if I divide this by 0.04, or your 4% rule as mentioned earlier, it would grant us a figure of about £525,000. This obviously based on the average household spend for 2.4 people per year of about 35 grand a year. This would require £872,000. So you can see here that for the single person, you're probably going to need a bit more individually for your own spending, and then as a couple you could probably get a lot more done together. But this is certainly the cold hard truth bun, that likely what you have at the moment is not enough to comfortably retire. Now of course, I wasn't going to include state pension, but because it's about retiring in the current year, it's certainly a relevant factor to include. Now state pension, if you've got the full contribution, which I believe means you have to have a minimum of 35 full qualifying years of contribution, will add an additional £9,600 a year to this. So of course this would certainly help going forward. This would add to that amount of income that you'd require and therefore lessen your investment pot that you would need. However, and I suppose in this video it's fine because we're talking about retiring in 2023. However, if you're not retiring in 2023 and you're going to be retiring in 10, 20, 30 years, we can't guarantee that in the same state that the state pension is it's going to be the same. We can't guarantee that that's going to be a source of income for the future. Now, there is one thing we can do about that. We can moan about it and we can sit here and cry about it, or we can do the work, we can do our investments now and be in a fortunate enough position where we may not have to rely on this. I believe in the future that state pension is going to be a means-tested method. Therefore, it would look at you and go, okay, how much wealth does this person have? Do they have enough investments to comfortably retire? Okay, yes they do. Or do they have a minimum financial wealth of, let's say, 200 grand, right? Which means once you deplete your wealth, then they'll be like, okay, you're eligible for state pension. So I would not factor this into your equation if you're looking to retire going forward. But if you're already qualified for state pension, then I don't see why you wouldn't include this. And this would certainly help you in order to retire right now in 2023. So if we look at a compound interest calculator, and if you're fortunate enough to have some time on your side, we can look at a compound interest calculator. What I've done here is I've chucked in, you need the initial investment of 0, obviously, at 8% interest rate compounded annually, which is your annual average return, over a 30-year period. So this would be assuming you're about 35 years old, and you're putting in £500 a month, right? This would lead to an investment value of £704,000. Now, I think this is perfectly achievable for a single person alone. But if you're a couple, you should be able to invest and save even more. This will get you well over that figure. Obviously, that figure of 525,000 here, if I started investing at the age of 30, 35, sorry, I'll be able to reach that point. Fortunately, I'm advantaged here because I'm 23 years old. I have got the ability now to invest for the next 42 years and build up that pot. Now, I appreciate that some of you right now are looking to retire in this current year, and that's how much you're going to need. You've got your target figure in mind. Best of luck to you. Have a fantastic day.